I mean, Trump's policies are really not inflationary. He's building the supply side. He wants to generate output. If you define inflation as too much money chasing too few goods, you're going to get more goods under Trump. Output's going up. He's lowering tax rates. He's lowering energy prices, which is a big driver of inflation. So if you're looking 3, 4 months down the road, as this stuff starts to come up out of the ground, you got low energy prices. That's very disinflationary. And Powell's got to be aware of that, but we just don't see it yet. It's all on the come.
Right.
That's why I say hide out for a little while and see how successful he is. He's trying to cut regulations. They're inflationary.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Markets and Madness. As you know, this is the place where we try and discuss the madness that occurs when politics, economics, and personalities all move in different directions. Today, it's just Tim and I. A lot going on in the markets, a lot going on over the weekend, aside from the Kansas City Chiefs and the referees beating the Buffalo Bills. A lot going on in the world. So, hey, Tim, what are your thoughts? What are you hearing? What are you seeing? What's going on?
Well, we're in an environment where volatility reigns, I guess. We've got massive moves in equities, significant moves in bonds and commodities. You know, I gave a talk about a week ago, and I said, you may miss some opportunities here, but it might just be a good time to hide out in short-term treasuries, money market funds, until things get a little clearer as to where we're going.
Yeah, we were talking about that before the election, that, having a 5% money market fund is not a bad place to hide.
Yeah. And I think that's probably, sure, you miss opportunities, but I guess I'd rather miss a boat than get on one that sinks. And we've had some big moves.
Yeah.
Just by a statement, which shows you just how vulnerable these markets are.
Yeah, some of the old adages, but when you're right, you're never big enough, right? When you're wrong, you're always too big. And I remember a Gartman statement that he used to say a lot. He'd say, there are three positions. You could be long, you could be short, and you could be square. You could be square. And right now, square sitting in a money market at 5% is not a bad place until we really figure out what's going on.
There were really opportunities all over the place. We just don't know which ones they are. And every one of these markets is a plastic explosive that's getting ready to go off in your face.
Yeah.
I mean, a 5% or 4% move in NASDAQ, which is where we were overnight, it's down to about 3% now. These are big moves. And if you're leveraged, which I suspect most of our viewers probably are, because, we tend to gravitate toward people that like to live close to the edge.
That's right. Yeah, we certainly saw that. What was it, DeepSeek that blew up the market today?
Yeah.
We've been saying NVIDIA's been riding too high and it's going to turn things around.
Well, I read a little bit about it, and they weren't using the advanced NVIDIA chips. They used 20 of the sub chips, and they got great results by only spending $6 million instead of $600 million. So,
yeah, and what I read about it is they're focusing on experts in a field rather than just sending their search out to the entire universe. And that's really pinpointing the answers they want.
Yeah, but that's more managerial than technological, I guess.
But it reduces the amount of computer power you need.
Yeah, and actually it changes the need for power plants and things like that too, which is what I've been harping about with quantum computers.
I know your focus has been quantum, which is talking to people about that this weekend. Yeah.
This is AI, really, and not quantum, and they're really totally different animals.
Mm-hmm.
The kind of interesting thing, I think, is it's Chinese, and I would rather have an American company inside my framework than a Chinese company, particularly with Trump running around.
Yeah.
He's a wild card. You could see, let me ask you this. If you were in charge of a big technology infrastructure, maybe this is a question for one of our guests, would you load it with Chinese stuff under the hood or American stuff under the hood?
Yeah, I think that's a very easily answered question.
Yeah, not really, because a lot of people don't seem to think it matters. And
Well, I
they'll find
mean,
out, you know?
well, we talked about it in the past, Chinese real estate bubble, Chinese bank bubble, do you want to be there? I don't know. I think it's the same thing. You don't know
Well,
what to expect.
let me ask you this. If you were sitting in the Middle East and you had a phone that was built by the Israelis and it blew up in your face, would you want to be an American with a Chinese phone
Yeah.
or something bigger, an AI chip at the heart of your corporate infrastructure?
I've been reading some memes today, humorous, but you look at them and said, "Oh, this is great. I've put all my passwords, I put all my information, my personal information into DeepSeek because everything is so secure." So that goes to your point,
Yeah,
people try to make a joke of it, but it is a serious point, something
yeah.
to be concerned about.
Until you go into a Chinese restaurant, you open up a fortune cookie and you see all your passwords inside the fortune cookie. I'd
But I
rather
guess yeah, it just shows how vulnerable the tech sector has been. The fact that we could come down, as you said, overnight, 5% in the Nasdaq on something that we don't know how real it is, how logistic it is, how sustainable it is.
I would argue that well over 95% of citizenry has no concept of whether or not they have Trojan horses inside their refrigerators or their microwaves or their phones. We have no
Yeah,
idea.
I think that's a fair comment. We put all of this information on Facebook voluntarily. We used to hide everything that we could, and now you put everything out there on Facebook. Photos, pictures, information, when you're going on vacation, right? All of this stuff is available voluntarily.
So, how would you like to be in Colombia today?
That's another big interesting point to bring up. We've been talking about using tariffs as an economic weapon, and now it's the international deportation weapon as well.
Yeah. I mean, Juan Valdez.
Yeah, I don't know what else Colombia really produces except for coffee. I don't think that's their big export.
I
But
think
still,
they
it's going to make
export
life very difficult if they don't.
some garments and stuff, but that could be shut off in an hour. And I could see Alexa Hente showing up on TV saying, Senor President, I was only kidding.
Well, apparently that's what he said. He said, "I'll send my plane." It reminds me, I thought about the scene from Godfather 2. Senora stays, she could stay. And you're going to lower the rent? And I'll lower the rent.
Rent stays like it before.
That's right. This rent stays like before. It's the Colombian
That's
president. I'll
exactly
let
right.
them in. And you're going to send your plane? And I'll send my plane.
You don't treat my people with dignity. Yeah, but they're criminals. I mean, you got a child rapist here. We're putting on a plane. Is that okay? We're putting them in handcuffs, because
And we're going to send them back. And what is it, Honduras? Was it
Brazil
Honduras?
too.
No, but Honduras was putting up a fight saying we've been good neighbors and we've allowed the Americans to build military bases and we haven't charged them a penny. I thought it was Honduras. I may be wrong. So it's a two-sided coin, obviously. And Trump's won this battle, it seems, but I think there's going to be many more down the road.
It's the American consumer. I mean, that's his leverage.
Yeah.
You want to sell to the American consumer? Okay, you're going to have to play ball. And then I keep hearing tariffs are inflationary, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, maybe they are. Maybe they are. But when you got a trade deficit of $80 billion a month, there's some room. There's room to maneuver here. We can go a long way before it's inflationary.
Yeah, I agree. And I don't think it's going to be as stark and steep as he said. It's a threat. It's the beginning of his negotiating point. It's a threat. Did you see Putin made a comment over the weekend? I think it was to the effect of, if the election wasn't stolen from Trump, I would have never invaded.
Did he say that?
Yeah, this war would have never happened or something like that.
Wow.
If the
Probably
election
right.
was, if the election,
Well, okay, that notwithstanding, but the fact that Biden's energy policy spiked the price of oil put Putin in a position where he could finance a war.
mm-hmm.
Iran too. I mean, the Houthis grew up 4 years ago. Nobody was talking about the Houthis. We didn't
Right.
know the difference between Yemen and urine.
And now they got a seat at the table.
And the price of oil changed a lot of things, especially when it spiked up over $100 a barrel.
Yeah.
I think he's probably going to target something like $50 a barrel for crude.
That would, once again, it solves one problem, creates some more. So yeah, lowers inflation. We've been talking about drill, baby, drill, and what happens here. So it helps, but at a certain price, it's too expensive to get oil out of the ground, right?
Yeah, but that price historically has been under 25 or $30 a barrel. You know, a long
Yeah,
way to go to get there.
yeah, maybe it's higher now. I don't know. I'm not, certainly not an expert in the oil fields, but it's something to be aware of. He's going to push, and I give him credit. He's playing that game, and I think he knows where the red line is. Whereas previous administrations didn't know where the red line was.
I'll tell you what was really startling was that meeting in Los Angeles. Did you
With
see that?
Newsom? No, I
Well, not
didn't.
just, he got off the plane and Newsom was there, uninvited.
Made him wait for 10 minutes, I heard, on
Well,
the tarmac.
Newsom was there early waiting for the plane, but they shook hands and said hello and blah, blah, blah. And Melania gave him a kiss. And then he went and he chaired a meeting. And the meeting was unbelievable. There was a big U table. There was a Democratic congressman there. There was the mayor,
From LA?
Bass, you know. And she said, well, he said, look, I'm meeting people and they're telling me that it's going to take 18 months to get a permit before they can clear their property. And she said, no, 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 no. And he said, well, that's what everybody's telling me. She said, no, no, they can clear it in a week. He said, they should be able to clear it today. You have emergency powers. They're standing there. She said, well, they have to be safe. He said, yeah, they want to clear it. And to me, I started thinking about that and I thought, no, advise, don't demand. You say, look, if you're going to clear it, watch out for this, 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 this. Be an advisor, but don't stop people from clearing their own property. She says, well, they have to be safe. He says, they're not safe now.
That's right.
It was an amazing meeting. It was really remarkable. And there was a guy from Breitbart there, and that guy nailed it. He lost his house, or I think his house was standing, but he was in an impact area. And he said, you should appoint a special master. These people are talking about raising $50 million to de-Trumpify California, yet they're leaving us standing here with burnt houses, and appoint a special master so that they don't take whatever money you assign and push it all over the place to suit their agenda.
Wow.
It was really an amazing meeting. I thought to myself, this is really what we elect people for. They're supposed to do exactly what he did,
I just read something earlier today. It said if Biden's term, if he wasn't such an inept president, Trump wouldn't look half as good as he does. The bar was so low that he's come in and doing reasonable things, trying to clean things up. And he looks like a master. He looks like he's from another planet.
That may or may not be true, but I don't think I've ever seen a president so hands-on as this guy.
In the first
Jimmy
week.
Carter tried to be hands-on,
Yeah.
but he was a micromanager.
Yeah. The first week, he's gotten a lot accomplished. He's pushed the envelope. The Homan has invaded that apartment complex in Denver. I think there was 50 arrests and deportations.
Yeah. Did you see the guy from Haiti? I ain't going back. Homan says he's wrong about that. He's going back. He says, I want to thank my bro, Obama and Biden, for everything you did. And I ain't going back to Haiti. Homan said, yeah, he's going back. And he's back. He's back there now. I hope he wore light clothes.
Yeah, it's been a crazy week. It's just a week, right? The 20th. It's just 1 week today that he's been in power, and a lot has changed. It's a very different world in the last week.
Yeah, and his generals are making a move too. I mean, Rubio was strong.
Yeah, he's gotten Rubio, Exit, Tulsi
Kristi
Gabbard
Noem.
approved, Kristi Noem approved. He's waiting on RFK, and I don't know if that votes today or tomorrow, but I saw him put out a tweet on X basically saying if you support RFK and his agenda, let your congressmen, let your senators know.
He got his CIA guy too,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and
It's
we're
getting
starting to see
real.
all kinds of stuff there about.
Did you notice in the Hexeth election, it was 50-50. Vance had to break the tie,
Yeah,
and Mitch McConnell went over and shook hands with Democrats. He voted no, and he shook hands with the Democrats.
yeah, he's been a rhino for a long time,
Yeah,
but I will give him credit for the judges he passed as Senate Majority Leader. I got to give
yeah,
him that, but I don't give him much anymore. I mean,
yeah.
this is
He's
Trump's party now.
yeah. So getting back to the markets, where does that leave us when we see Nvidia and some of the other tech stocks getting beat up the way they have on, as I said, it just seems to me that it really highlights how fragile the tech sector is. Now, I know people are going to say they're going to buy dips and it's going to rebound back again, and in another week it's going to be right back where it was. But if it can drop like it has, it's the escalator up and the elevator down.
Well, it was overbought. I don't think anybody would say it wasn't. I mean, it's fluffy. All the multiples have been inflated. But the thing about the multiples is when you get a change in earnings, the multiples readjust.
Hmm.
You get earnings of X, and the multiple is 20 times, and you get earnings of 2X, and you're looking at it, 10, 12 times. So the earnings have been strong. The inflation sort of distorts that number. It's a crazy kind of time. It's a
But
high
but we
volatility time.
but we say that it's been overbought and it comes down 15%. Does that take away the froth, or is this just the beginning? Is there another 20-30% in it?
Depends on the earnings. Depends on the earnings. If the earnings justify, don't forget, when the earnings change these multiples when they show up. If it's bad earnings, the stock's trading at 40 times. If it's good earnings, the stock's
Yeah.
trading at 10 times.
Well, today it seemed like it was a rotation out of tech and into the Dow stocks.
No doubt. No
It
doubt.
was up big, and I don't know if this is the beginning of something or if this is just a place to hide out for now, go into those defensive stocks that have always weathered well.
Well, if you put a gun to my head and force me to take a position here instead of hiding out, I would say capital flows rule. And we're sucking in capital from all over the world. Everybody's getting on the Trump train
Hmm.
because we got lower taxes. Tariffs really support foreign companies coming in to avoid the tariffs. American companies coming back onshore to avoid the tariffs. And he's got a friendly environment. He's trying to lower the tax rate, lower the corporate tax rate. Whether or not he will, I don't know. That's the part that has to shake out. But this guy's a salesman. And we're sitting in one of his hotels and he's trying to raise the occupancy. And he's saying, all right, come on, and I'll give you this deal and I'll give you that deal. And
Right.
capital's flying in. So when you see capital moving in, you see a stronger dollar. You generally see rates go down. That's another thing. Focus has shifted a little bit this week towards what the Fed does. And where's
Right. We were
and then he
talking
made
last
that
week with
ridiculous
Matt that you,
statement.
you didn't feel that the focus was the Fed going forward. It's more the administration. But I guess that's, the Fed is going to be the first derivative of what happens to the administration, right?
Well, Trump made that ridiculous statement about how I demand that interest rates go down.
Right.
If the Fed moved rates down another 25 or 50 basis points, the 10-year would back up right in his face. So I don't think we're in a position right now where we can try to put a lid on rates. So I think the Fed is yesterday's news.
And that's one of the things that Matt was talking about last week. Matt kept saying, Fed chairman's going to fight that battle. He's not going to listen to him. He's going to do what he wants to do. And our point was if he gets inflation down, if he tells the Fed chairman, I'm going to get inflation down, I'm going to do this, then Powell is going to come around and make some changes. But the bond vigilantes are going to fight him until they see real numbers. Yeah.
Think about that. I mean, Trump's policies are really not inflationary. He's building the supply side. He wants to generate output. If you define inflation as too much money chasing too few goods, you're going to get more goods under Trump. Output's going up. He's lowering tax rates. He's lowering energy prices, which is a big driver of
Right.
inflation. So if you're looking 3, 4 months down the road, as this stuff starts to come up out of the ground, you got low energy prices. That's very disinflationary. And Powell's got to be aware of that, but we just don't see it yet. It's all on the come.
Right.
That's why I say hide out for a little while and see how successful he is. He's trying to cut regulations. They're inflationary.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Cutting out certain sectors of the government, the whole DEI portion of
I
the
would argue
government.
that a year from now, the dollar's going to be higher. The market, certain sectors of the market are going to be much higher. We're going to have foreign capital on board. American companies will be repatriating because they got a factory in Mexico and they build an XYZ widgets and they sell their widgets. They're going to face tariffs. It'd be easier if they come here and avoid the tariffs. And when they come here, they got a lower tax rate. They're not taxed twice, you know.
But is that going to be an offset to the union demands and what they're going to have to do to work here? Now, I know you say he's lowering regulations, but there are a lot of hidden costs to doing doing work in America, building in America.
Yeah. Well,
Is the
yeah.
lower tariffs the offset? I don't know.
Depends on what else he does. I mean, Obamacare was a big driver of inflation,
Mm-hmm.
and it hurt. At the same time, it hurt employment because companies took the 40-hour week and made it a 20-hour week or a 30-hour week to avoid paying health care
Right.
benefits. So, is he going to do anything on the healthcare side? He's talked about it. You know, that's I don't know. Tell me in 6 months what he's doing, and that's a respond to the union. No tax on tips. They love him for that. I don't see the rank and file voting against him for that.
Right. That's not a tax cut for billionaires, as we always hear.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Yeah. We've said that many times.
You got all those billionaire single family, single mom,
Yeah.
single mothers and waitresses, and yeah,
It was no tax on tips and no tax on overtime. Right.
right,
That was his other big one.
right. Now
No
that's
tax.
disinflationary.
Right.
That generates output at a lower cost.
And he wants to, somebody was going to propose a bill, no tax on Social Security payments.
Yeah, well, we'll
It's,
see.
it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough to get that through, but it's a good talking point, you know?
It's going to be tough to get a lot of this stuff through. He just doesn't have the majorities. All this, he needs easy wins for the next election. He's got a 2-year time frame, and he's got to have a lot of stuff up on the board in 2 years.
Yeah. So overall, nothing's changed. This move in the tech sector hasn't bothered you. You still feel that capital inflows, dollar up, equity markets, certain sectors up, yields cautious to down, energy prices down, and
Yeah,
and
talk to
that's
me
what-
next week, though.
Yeah,
Look what
yeah,
happens in a week.
that's true. Yeah, we've had a lot happen in the first 7 days. God knows what's going to happen in the next seven. Right?
Anybody listening, vol is cheap. You know, you could buy puts, you could buy calls, you might make both sides. You could, unless yesterday was just a good advantage of that.
Yeah. And I wonder if vol still is cheap after today. You know, if we would have said that Friday, vol was cheap. I don't know if it still is today because
Yeah.
we've seen the Dow. The Dow's had a big up day, right? And the S&P's had a big down day.
I don't know where everything is now. I played golf most of the day, and I got up about 6 o'clock in the morning, and I saw that the Nasdaq was off 4%, and I said, "Whoop, this is going to be a day to
Yeah.
remember or forget, one way or the other."
I see the Dow up 0.75%, Nasdaq down 3%, the S&P down 1.5%. So money went somewhere.
It's rotation, yeah.
Yeah,
It's rotation.
into the stronger sectors. All right.
Okay,
Anything else? Any other thoughts, comments?
just watch the TV. Let's
Yeah.
see what he does next.
Watch the tape bombs, as they say, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and there are.
They are coming.
Okay,
All right, Tim. Have a great night. Hit them straight.
take care.
Bye.